Welcome back, audience. As always, my traditional slurp before the video. I'm just checking if I have not left any of the Hitler stash. I'm not gonna even go there. It seems that um, this thing with Grok and Hitler, this thing with Kanye West and Hitler. Anyway, but I don't want to talk about this today. I want to talk about. I want to talk about. You know what? I want to talk about relationships, and specifically. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. What was I saying? Right, about relationship. There's something that I want to get off my chest a little bit because I can see people, as always, are distracted with the noise and missing out on the signal. As always, almost in every video, I'm talking about the same thing, you know? And some people are already kind of catching on and really realizing that there's only two ways of being. One is the matrix way, which is always stems from suffering, and there's always looking for ways to eliminate the suffering. There's one way of living, and another way of living is alchemizing all that nonsense, and then um, you're not looking to fix the problem. You're looking things to do to enjoy. It's a different type of approach, and and it really is just those two ways of living on Earth, and you can't sort of like mix those two. They don't mix. What I'm trying to say here is, for example, there's this striving sometimes um, for some sort of status, right? It's usually about some form of fame or status or wealth, right? And so then there's basically everything is categorized based on that, and they say, well, that person is on not on my level, that person is on my level, that person is below, and so everything is basically um, like a meat market. On one level, on one side, men, that's how categorize men, and on another, that's how you categorize the woman, and usually it's about the looks and some feminine status, whatever. This is all nature's game. I hope I'm not saying something new here, but sometimes these things are quite subtle, and people think that they don't participate in that, but they do. And usually, people think that, like, well, if I belong in a spiritual community, which is just another religion, it's not. There's nothing spiritual about it. There's no such thing as spiritual community. Spirit is not communal. You see, if you if you if you congregate around uh, a mutual interest, and that is, I don't know, art, science, whatever, fair enough. But if you congregate around the spirit, uh, it's ridiculous. Because it's ridiculous, it's bullshit, and I don't even want to talk about this. Okay, um, fuck all of your spiritual gatherings, fuck all of your healing ceremonies, fuck all of that bullshit, because it's just the same game that these it's just as superficial as these people who are, chasing tail and status or whatever, right? It's just as superficial. It's the same stuff coated in a different way. And so now, because it's coated in a different way, then, you know we are better than them because we're spiritual or whatever. And then they come up with different words but describe the same things. um like, it's exact same thing. And I see sometimes, like, these in tarot readings, they read, um like, drama. It's drama, okay? They just basically reading a script of a telenovela or something like that. It's fucking drama. And then they are obviously people on the other side that are gullible. They're listening to this and they believe that that's how the love works, for example. Love tarot, right? And then they say something like third party, or uh, someone cannot choose between two people. And this is all the same fucking bullshit. Like, what do you mean you can't choose between two people? Love is not a choice. If you think that you are choosing, then you don't love any of those people. You still function in the matrix world, but now because you're naming it differently, then it's all right. You know, you can call it divine feminine, but that doesn't make you not be a whore. And the same thing with divine masculine. You can call it divine masculine, but it doesn't make you being a a crook. Stop being a crook. You see what I'm trying to say? It's always with the agenda. It's always with this fucking nonsense. And uh, I'm honestly, you know, gonna say this, and I'm gonna end talking about this. But I just wanna say it once. And I don't know, maybe some of you are listening and you're getting caught in the same fucking trap and thinking, oh shit, yeah, what the fuck am I doing? And if that's the case, then that's great. And trust me, there's just, you won't find love in this approach. It doesn't live there. I mean, this is what I've been keep on saying. It's just not there. And therefore, like, some people um may meet someone that they may like, and then they get all insecurities, like, oh, it's not on my level, not on my status, and oh, I have to do this and have to do that to be able to even talk to them, or some shit like that. It's ridiculous. um the less, like, for example, as a woman, the less status you have, or the less interest in status you have, the less interest in these masculine games, that you are interested, the less interested you are in all these things, the more attractive you are to somebody who is a real deal. Because the secret is, what the real men were attracted to, not these matrix muppets, but real men. They are attracted to nothingness. Another word would be purity, which is just, there's the empty heart, the nothingness. That's what the pure femininity is. It's just like white mirror, if you will, but there's nothing there. And the attraction is that masculine wants to basically show her, project the beauty, and show her how beautiful she is. Because when a woman is trying to uh, do this herself, it just looks ridiculous, and it's not how it's supposed to be. And this is why it's actually the opposite direction if you believe that you have to accomplish something and earn. No, the more real, the more pure, the more innocent you are, the more you're interested in meaning, and you have no interest in no fucking status and none of that bullshit. And you're just interested in playing and enjoying yourself, then that's it's going to be. You see, like, well, what's the purpose of of me if I don't really, quote unquote, do anything, or it's the value comes from how good you feel. That is an inspiration. Your responsibility is to feel as good as possible as a woman. And that is the highest value. This is what I sometimes I say. Some women are like going and searching for something and going to these freaking ayahuasca retreats or doing this stuff, and they trying to be somebody, right? Whereas the whole point is actually not to be anything. Because whatever you are, and so therefore it's an opposite direction. It's not that seeking thing. It's like, oh, in the next moment I'm gonna get there. Next moment I'm gonna get there, right? That's like always participating and chasing the dragon, you know. But if you let go of that chasing and you just be with what is and surrender to what is, and be okay that there's nothing, nothing there. But how peaceful and how good you feel, and you think that, okay, that is my value. Your value is how good you feel, and that is the highest inspiration and for a man. And of course, I'm not saying that you just don't do anything. No, but you do whatever makes you happy. But you just, it's not striving. You see, well, maybe I like to do this. Okay, well, that doesn't earn money. Who cares? Somehow, some way, the wealth is gonna come to you because you're doing something that you enjoy. There's this belief in the matrix that no, you have to, follow the trend and whatever it's hot in the matrix, and then you're gonna earn money and keep on chasing that. No, there's another way of earning abundance just by purely enjoying. And in fact, that's what excellence is. Excellence is not recognition by the public, which is right now, it's all, what's, you know, if you million NPCs are watching you, and you think that that's like recognition, you got no recognition. Everything is basically has no meaning because it's just a number on the screen, and it's just matrix muppets behind it most of the time, right? And yeah, you may have like few real people. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that there is no success in the matrix. If you're a success in the matrix, you are a loser in life. And for men, you see, like the highest, the way I saw what love is, or like that state of consciousness, anything, I don't know if yeah, well, it can be a like state of consciousness. Even these metaphysical laws to that energy is a joke to that universal love. Everything, any kind of purposeful thing, is just a joke. But without a purpose, you cannot bring love into temporal reality. And this is why love appreciates wisdom, because it cannot exist in a temporal reality without it. But ultimately, to that energy, everything is a joke, nothing is serious. It's like the most carefree thing ever. And that is the feminine ideal. The most carefree woman is the most feminine woman, the most attractive woman to a real man. And on the other side, on the masculine side, is different. It's like almost, I should say, the ultimate feminine is being absolutely empty and pure potential energy. And on a masculine side, it's about being everything that stems from divine spark, which is light show, right? And so being everything, that would be the masculine ideal, and being nothing, that would be feminine ideal. And when everything and nothing meets, then you have a firework, you know. And so this is again, you can't help but be you as a man if you are not chasing the dragon, so to speak. And in fact, there is an illusion that, like, okay, if you're going to keep on chasing that, you're going to accomplish something. And it's an illusion. And it thinks that it feels like it might be the easier way to keep on chasing and competing and all these things than just facing what is inside of you. And like Jesus said, choosing the lowest rung. What did he mean, choosing the lowest rung? He meant that live and find the most painful, most uncomfortable state inside of you and make that amazing. And if something brings you more of that feeling, face it all, make that amazing. And that is choosing the lowest rung. And this is what makes you real as a man. Another description of real. En español, real is royal. And that's where the royalty is coming from. Interestingly enough, in the Matrix, royalty is when you actually don't touch the disgusting things and you keep on keeping your head afloat a bit. But in reality, when you're actually going there and focusing on that, the most uncomfortable thing, and making it amazing, and this is the most masculine thing that you can do, because then your woman doesn't have to feel these feelings, and so she can relax more and be innocent, carefree, and spacious or whatnot. And as you can see in anything that I'm describing here, it doesn't mention any kind of coping mechanism, participating somewhere, another retreat is gonna do or whatever. No, none of that. None of that. And again, I'm saying the same old message. Courage is the only thing that makes a man man, and surrender. This is what makes a woman woman. And um, when a woman surrendered to these states inside of her, she gains wisdom, as I said before. And as you, as a man, when you courageously face these most uncomfortable feelings and would zero it out and make them amazing, that's what happens when you completely and utterly face. And this is how I live my life right now. And every morning I wake up and I find most uncomfortable, most, you know, unpleasant feeling within me, and I place attention there. And this is how I'm learning to have a habit of keep on doing this, which is, as you can see, like it's the opposite of what somebody would say, even in those spiritual teachings. I never heard this thing. And of course, maybe that's how it's supposed to be. These things are not being revealed. These things are not being talked about. But these things have to be discovered. And when, as a man, when you get good at it, that's what brings you all this so-called light. I mean, it's been mentioned, but never really, that message wasn't really being sent. For example, sometimes when I've looked into that pain, right, through anxiety, fear, and then you go into this fire and you find pain there. It's like, what the fuck is this? And then when you sit with it, it starts changing and it starts feeling, I don't know how to say it, but it just starts feeling amazing. And when it does, then of course the words pop in. That's like, oh, the pain is where the light comes through, right? And as a man, all this idea of being real or royal is the one that you carry that light, and you carry that light by continuously putting attention on this thing called quote unquote pain, and then you're bringing that light out. And that light is making the calls and giving you an insights and everything. Okay. But I think Rumi said that, like, again, this is not something that like one person said. This is just like a universal truth that anybody can discover. He said the pain is when the light comes through. And also, you may, as a man, you say, it's like, why everybody is just trying to cause me emotional pain? And so this is why entire matrix is a catalyst. Everything in the matrix is a catalyst. And even, these misguided people, which, by the way, I mean, I shouldn't be saying that, like, there's fewer and fewer of them out there, and a lot more people are kind of waking up to this reality that there's no such thing as group spirituality, and they discover everything within themselves, and it's like, what the fuck was I doing? It's ridiculous. Yeah. And this is the maximum that you can do as a man on a soul level. It's like, all right, let that matrix create that pain inside of you. You change inside your mind that, oh, that's where I'm going to be going voluntarily. It has to be voluntarily. That's where I'm going to be going. Every time something happens and this thing is created inside of me, which, by the way, anger or rage has the same source, pain. And so every time these emotions happen, you say, oh, there's another one. You face it and you bring that light through. There's nothing more that, and some people say like that's all you gotta do, because that's kind of determines everything else. It determines your thoughts, it determines what you imagine, and what you imagine determines the physical outcomes. That it's like a chain reaction, that this thing that you do first, and then there might be some micromanagement with your imagination, and then some micromanagement within the physical habits that you need to do. Of course there is, but it's very minor, because the main primary shift has taken place. And so really there's this, you become this thing that eats the program that produces fear. You just become that Pac-Man, you know what I'm saying? And you feed on it, and so then it's like you can be messed with. Okay, you can be messed with, because and as long as your intention is this, you'll see. And so therefore, like this is the only thing that you have to do as a man, to be a man, and that will attract the right woman also. Because light attracts love. And sometimes people say like, love and light in this new age. Again, it's became a religion, but there is such thing as, the word light can actually refer to that state of consciousness, of that bliss. And the word love can also refer to that state of consciousness, which is this incredible peace, this warm, everything permeating, intense peace. And that's how they, in these primordial forms, and then of course that turns into confidence and innocence, as I said, and then the confidence and innocence is what attracts on more like a personal level. And there's nothing more that you have to do. If you really want, if you're really interested in love relationship, what has been been experienced before you start living involuntarily by moving towards that pain rather than running away from it. And the same thing for a woman, surrendering to that pressure rather being moved by that pressure, is that's where the love will happen. Until that takes place, love will not take place. And so a soul is either moving towards this or away from it. You see how you cannot have anything in between. Okay? And honestly, like when it would happen to me at first, I would be throttling a little bit, because like I had nothing to go by. So I would be going into this motion of this facing and putting attention on this pain, and going, and sometimes I would be feeling how I'm being kind of being pushed away from my throne, so to speak, and then getting into four types of challenges. One would be the challenge of earth, which is it feels like this fucking pressure on your chest. Other is a challenge of uh, pain, right? Which sometimes it may be so intense that you find it very difficult to put attention there, and you may say like, oh no, fuck it, I'm just gonna get high or whatever, right? Or I'm just gonna go party, whatever. And so that was happening to me. And two more things I have to say, because I found that there's two more challenges, and one is sort of like this feeling of nausea, disgust, feels like you've been poisoned. That has to be as well alchemized. Or confusion and space, and like spaciousness is not a good word, but something that is like confused, and there's no reason for you to be confused, but there's just confusion in your head, and it's very difficult. And then you got to like really put back in the maximum focus as much as you can, and deal with that. So there are four types of challenges, and there are four types of elements. So at the beginning, that's what was going on. I handling well. Then I pushed away from my throne, and then I get one of those four challenges, and then I have to go through those four challenges. And not always I went through those challenges. Sometimes I pacify them, and sometimes I would do the matrix thing, right? But that would just put me in a bigger hole, and over time I realized, oh, I can't go back. And so little by little over time, I realize, and it's almost like it's training, right? Like when you get burned a few times from putting the hand on the stove, you stop doing it. So it's just like that's what it feels like. But I admit that at the beginning there's this, you're going the right way, and then you get off of it, and then you gotta go going the other way, get off of it. So it's like, at least that's how it was for me. It was like landing it there, and first like poof, 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 poof. And now I'm a bit like more stable at that direction of life. I do have challenges still, but they take me out of it for a very short period of time. I could have like this anger about something that is just something that a basic thing, but the important thing, like given instructions that they were not followed without no reason, and so then I have to figure out what the fuck is going on, and that angers me. But then like it takes about, I don't know, like 10-15 minutes, and I'm like going back into that steady energy, and that anger changes into something like much more steady, much more precise, much more light based, and that gives me good insights to see what's really going on, where is the root of the problem, and stuff like that. And it might have been the reason because a worker did not listen to the instructions, because he's anxious about something and nervous about something, and so that's why they don't register, and they say, okay, that's what's going on. So it's nothing to do with the instructions. And then I take a pause and say, all right, let's take a break, let's talk about it, and let's even out that anxiety, whatever the causes that anxiety, and then everything flows back to normal. Because like they say, vibration has to be dealt with first, and then everything else has to build on that foundation. So this is why I don't see it at least in my experience, I don't know, like sometimes people say that like once they went there they never came back. That's not how it's for me. For me it's like that time between losing it and going back to it is shrinking, whereas before I may be angry. I don't know, like sometimes I may hold on to anger for a long time. Used to, long time ago. Depends on how much pissed off I was. But then it was shorter time, shorter time, shorter time, shorter time, shorter time. If I'm really pissed off and enraged about something, then that may take me, maybe a few days. If I'm just little annoyed, it may take me a few hours. And now is being sure if I'm really enraged, it may take me 30 minutes. And if I'm just a little annoyed, that may take me 10 minutes. And that time lag is shrinking. And the only thing I do is I have that intention, that attention on the thing that from where that most uncomfortable thing stems from. And that's the best advice that I can give to a man. And this is what I would consider a man. You're not a real man, and this is why this word real is, because you're really not real, because if you are still moved by the matrix, you're not real. You're a non-player character. You may have few glimpses, or you may have like somebody is talking about this and you're listening to this, but you still function in the belief system, and you say, well, I'm going to try to, now I'm going to create a belief that I am, like try to create a belief that I am a controller of my destiny, and then you become just a control freak. That's not it. And you're not a man until you face those things. You're just not a man. And I say this to men that I see they're still lying, still hiding, still stealing. I say them to directly. I say, you're not a real man. I can't consider you a real man because you're still moved by the programmed hive mind. I have nothing really in common with you until you start living the life in the real way. And I don't know if that may trigger them enough to realize that that's the case, or they just double down on their bullshit. I don't care. But that's how I define and set the boundary. And do you know how many men do you know who live a life like that? I know of very few men. But I always get along with them because we're in the same boat. At sometimes, and even at the same time, say, okay, this is what's happening to me. Say, oh, that's what's happening to me. We are in the same boat, same energy. We're dealing with the same challenges at the same time. And then we share information how we'd handled it, and we keep close to the fire as much as possible. And sometimes we fall through, and sometimes you say like, shit, I failed my last challenge or whatever, Well, that's all right. Then you figure out how to deal with that better, and the next time you deal with better. And this is just like this demon slaying game. And but if a person stops doing that, then they go somewhere out of the circle. You see, if they get lost in the hallucinations, delusions, and distortions, then until they're gonna go back and start alchemizing that back again and going the right path again, they're not part of the circle. It's just like that's how it works. It's just like oil and water; it doesn't mix anymore, right? And sometimes, like I would notice when I would get off that line, I would get into, yeah, and then people would talk to me, or people would contact me from that type of matrix world, and then it would try to drag me in their fucking nonsense and drama and bullshit and conflicts and all that stuff. And I could see it's like, yay, I'm not in my zone, and this is why everything around me now is trying to drag me back into the matrix. But when I come in my zone, they don't talk to me, they don't touch me for whatever reason. And if somebody's approached me, is they must have um, dealt with something, or they must have um, chosen some degree of courage as a man or some degree of surrender as a woman. And I think this is like the only free will that really exists. Is to say that you have no free will at all, is not really true. Like once you place like this disc of this particular vibration, once you face the challenge and you break through it, you are entering a different state of conscious, different vibe. Now that vibe is going to be creating movie, whatever is going to be creating. Now that you can't control, but you have selected it by facing the most uncomfortable thing that you can face. And I would say that I almost have to say that for a man facing the most uncomfortable thing that he can face, and for a woman, the surrender must be about not really facing, which is what the conscious, what the eye lens does, like focuses, but being the eye itself is the surrender to becoming the background of everything, and that is actually going into whatever feels amazing. And so another way of saying it, well, I don't know, I don't want to use these words because they're used in a wrong way, but man has to face the things that are most uncomfortable and make them comfortable, or not kind of comfortable, most uncomfortable, and make them blissful, I should say. And it seems that a woman has to surrender so she feels as good as possible. And when you mix those two energies together, then, like I said, you have a firework. And again, I'm just communicating something at the root of the root of the root. If you have a question, what do I do? How do I beat, so quote unquote, the matrix? And you feel like helpless and like this out of control or whatever. This is it. Because you, as a man, every time you face that pain, you burn the code that produces fear, entropy, and all this nonsense. You burn it all up. The black magic loses its power. And it happens inside of you, and that most uncomfortable thing. And sometimes you may feel from one day to another, it might be like a strong challenge coming along, and it may take you a few days to beat that motherfucker, but you do it. And that brings you even more light, even more light, even more light. And you never back down from a challenge. And as eventually you don't want to back down on a challenge because that becomes your bliss, your light. You are basically, I don't want to say getting high on it, but getting off on it. This is the best thing that you can do as a man. And that erodes the matrix coding. That erodes it. Okay? And then, of course, that's where you start. I don't want to complicate with anything else. As a woman, like I said, with the surrender, if you look, every time a man is facing that painful, uncomfortable feeling, and a woman is surrendering, let's say, to what is, that combination is unstoppable, because a man can face any kind of pain when there's love. It's piece of cake. Okay? And a woman can surrender to almost anything. When there's light, it's a piece of cake for her. So it's a teamwork. That is what's going to attract love in your life, real love. And nothing else will do. I really want to say there's just nothing else will do. None of these believing that this gonna happen, and it's gonna get caught into this thing and it's just not gonna work, and then you're gonna try to manifest a specific person, but there's all sorts of nonsense challenges, and there's no real love. There's not that recognition, that essence in one another, and just knowing that, okay, this is it. Like, there's no questions, there's no doubt, there's no insecurities. And that's how you're gonna attract love. And you see, like, I don't know what kind of form that will take in my life, but I know that that's the only way. And while other people maybe get lost in this karmic nonsense, which, by the way, it is not looking for love in this karmic catalyst is ridiculous. It's not for finding love. It's to catalyze you. And if you know that that's what it's for, and you're interacting with people and they trigger you, and in whatever way, and it doesn't have to, you don't even have to you don't even have to have a relationship with anybody. Just by observing and watching other people's behavior, there's gonna be some triggers, and then you'll know that where to look. And you see, this is why, that's why it's sacred, because it's secret, because it cannot be visible. It's not visible. It's nothing to do with the brain, nothing to do with the mind. It's this putting attention in the right way. And this is why the attention, I would say, this is another word for courage, and surrender is another word for awareness. These are just words, but you cannot deny that that's at the primordial level, that's what it exists. It's like you have that eye of the soul, and the free will is like where you're gonna look, right? And then what are you going to become aware of completely or surrender to? That's all. And the sweet spot in this liminal space. And that's it. And then after, of course, I don't want to expand too much on what happens after, but because, like I said, after this game ends, after this game of being how to say, alchemizing, being catalyzed and alchemizing, all that. After this game ends, when you start actually living this and realize, oh, it's not about me getting trapped in this loop of nonsense. It's about me getting triggered, alchemizing, moving on, getting triggered, alchemizing, moving on. When you start doing that, then you're going on the right path. But then after that, you're going through this transition, right? But then after the transition, you realize, like, okay, what do I do now? Your motivation changes. You actually don't have such thing as motivation anymore. You have only inspiration. I'm just using different words to distinguish the modes of being and acting. These are modes of being and acting. They change. And sometimes people say, like, well, after you break through, you don't want to do anything. And that may be true. For other people, they may not be true. But You know, the reason you don't want to do anything is because just sitting and like walking around and watching nature is it's like you're tripping on an LSD. Why would you want to do anything when you are in that state of consciousness? It's not because you're lazy, it's because you're fully immersed in what the fuck is going on and you're digging every second of it because everything is ecstatic. It's really like that. And that's why you don't want to do anything. But it's not like you're not doing anything. You're very active in, very aware of what's going on. You're just like a baby enjoying every single thing. So that, in that sense, right? Um, but it's not depressed. It's not this. So when people say like, well, after awakening, get depressed. Nope. There's whatever you mean by that word awakening. It's not it. You're depressed because you still didn't get it. You know. You still have not approached the 0 point, or you still did not look where you had to look. You still have not done that thing that you have to do with your attention and awareness. That primordial thing that you have to do. Because depression is from the word pressure, and really it's not depression, it's stillness and peace. That's what's really going on. And behind being a manic and being anxious about things or being fearful, whatever, having anxiety, behind that there is bliss. Those are the actual real energies there when they're coherent. It's actually the low ocean wave of depression. When it's not coherent, then it feels like a depression. But when you have a coherence there, then it's stillness. And it's very high frequency. When it's incoherent, like that, the 5 frequency, then it feels like anxiety. But when it's coherent and it's like bzzz, then that's bliss, peace, bliss, peace, bliss. And I'm keep on pointing to the same thing, and I think I'm just going to keep on pointing for a little bit. But but I'm not sure how long I'm going to be doing these videos, to be honest. Because I prefer, actually, if anybody wants to just go there, like directly, and basically understand what it means to put attention on what attention has to be, what it means to put awareness where awareness has to be. I think this is the highest point of leverage, and I'm not sure how effective it is for me to talk on YouTube with the audience rather than one-on-one. Because on one-on-one, I know I can see in people immediately when they discover the 0 point, and they say, "Holy shit!" And so they understand what is surrender is, and then when they break through with courage to the things that are uncomfortable, they understand that bliss thing, and then a woman becomes a woman and a man becomes a man. And when there is no pain kind of to alchemize, there's nothing going on, then in the 0 point there's this peace and then some degree of bliss. And this is why I say that for women, if they just honestly, I think this is how it really works. If women take responsibility about surrender, and men take responsibility about courage, that's the best teamwork that you can have. It is so simple, and it has the highest point of leverage in your life. And then everything changes. Everything, you start to see things for what they are, and understand that what love really is, and then you see other people talking about these things and you say, wow, no, no, no. I guess some people say, well, it's okay to accept, you know, I've been there too, so, what can you do? Let people be there for a little bit, get lost, be lost. But I'm not so sure that that's a good view to have. Um, I mean, on one hand, you can kind of you have to accept it, because I mean, it's not like you have to. You already accepted it because you've gone through this surrender, so it doesn't trigger you anymore. You just watch it and say like this. But on the other hand, you're like, man, there's, I don't know, what do you do when you see somebody going off the cliff? If you say like, no, it's okay, let them go off the cliff, and so they will know. Maybe it's true. Maybe let them go off the cliff and they will know. Or maybe they won't know. Maybe they will go off the cliff and then, the next time they will go off the cliff again. At least the way I see it, at least in my view, it's not my responsibility. And I don't know whether it's going to work or not. But if I have an intent to communicate this to somebody and say, look, this is what's going on. And if they have capacity to see it, then at least I know that I have done what I can. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I try to show this to people, and they were, see, because they weren't asking me. They weren't asking me. Say like, hey, I'm suffering, and you talking about suffering is bullshit. How what do you mean? If somebody asked me that, and some people did ask me that, and then I showed them, and they did that attention and awareness thing, and sure enough, now they're telling me, say, I know what you're talking about, this thing. I know what you're talking about. That about I know what you're talking about when you say bliss behind the pain, or pain being actually bliss. They beginning to realizing that, and they say, yeah, it is pain, but it feels amazing. It's not pain anymore, but you see what I'm trying to say. It's because you have the memory of that, like, yeah, I used to call this thing pain, and I was running away from it, and I was suffering, but now it's freaking awesome. It feels amazing. And so that's how I know that it can be done, but the person has to be interested in it and ask for it. Because sometimes I tried to do this with the people who I saw clearly that they're suffering, and they're almost like being proud of suffering, almost like this, oh no, this is you have to be like this, you have to, because that's what it means to be like a human. Because if you don't have that, how can I relate to you? Because you're not suffering. How can I relate to you if you're not suffering? No, you can't relate to me because I'm not suffering. But you can come on the light side. We have milk and cookies here. You don't have to suffer. And suffering is not your main thing at all. But there's a belief that you have to be this dysfunctional person, because then, you're not a human. Ridiculous. And to be honest, it's enough. Trust me. uh, if you think that passion is gonna be gone, passion is not gonna be gone, and even the anger is not gonna be gone, and even emotions are not gonna be gone. They're still going to be there, and you still, well, at least that's what's gonna happen to me. But the thing is, there's going to be very short lived, and eventually it's gonna be gone too. But there is going to be another. The passion is not going to be gone. There's going to be passion, but that amazing passion, and it's going to be less and less that fire passion, which is anger, rage, hatred, all that stuff. There's less and less of that fire. It's more and more of that light passion, that intensity. Okay? And anyway, this video, again with this hour, I've been talking a lot lately. I think I just need to get it out of my system. And then I think I'm going to be doing one-on-ones, if anybody wants. Because honestly, I just want to show it if somebody wants to see it. And then after that, there's nothing else I can do. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, I can talk for hours, and I'm interested in, because of this idea is not, I mean, this getting popular, this idea, by the way, because some people are beginning to are beginning to do this of to other people, and showing this thing directly, one-on-one, and it seems to be working, you know. And I think that's awesome. I think that, if, of course, it has to be done not by the copycat, it has to be done by the real deal, somebody who is living it every day. And so only then you'll be able to show, because just saying words is it doesn't seem like saying words is enough. If I'm not in that state of consciousness, and you're just listening to the recording of just words, of like maybe the AI saying the words, I don't think that's enough. There has to be this shared state. And it's almost like I said, hey, it feels amazing here. Check how easy it is to get here. And it's like, and somebody else gets like, holy shit, yeah, look at this, this is amazing space. It's so quiet, so still over here. You may have some body reactions happening, tripping a little bit, like an LSD like. And you don't need no psychedelics, nothing. It's with you all the time. And then how it would look like, it's not about discussing and talking about what the man's supposed to do, what the woman's supposed to do. It usually just goes into just having fun. And this is what I really want to do next, honestly, with my videos. I'm having fun talking, of course, but I think I got to the point where, and I don't think I'm just the only one. A lot of people got to this point where the realization is that, oh, okay, talking is nice, it's kind of entertaining, and maybe there's some communication that happens, and but really the best thing is to just show to somebody that act of attention and act of awareness. By the way, this is what Krishnamurti was keep on babbling about. This is what he was saying, about hold your suffering as a jewel. This is what he was trying to say. He was talking about courage and putting attention. And that's all you can say. And so Krishnamurti was a guru, got through this and realized, holy shit, I'm just being a pacifier here. And then he ended up, obviously, for many years just sending the same message and talking about attention, and put the attention on what is, on your suffering. Don't run away from it. Just basically in many different ways, leading the people to the logical and rational conclusions into this realization that attention is indeed the answer and there's nothing else will do. Um, right? And I think this is the most that you can do. This is why I don't want to talk about spirituality. I just want to show this to people, and that's it. I don't want to do anything else with spirituality. And I want to get into other arts and sciences. I'm still very curious about like how consciousness work and how these details, because there's details in this game, you know. I call them gems, those distortions that you have to be there. There are details in it, so it's interesting to talk about this consciousness thing. But that is already the game level. Until you discover the attention and awareness, which is not a difficult thing to do, you're not really playing the game of the creation, which is a creation and play. That's what soul really wants to do. Until then, you are still doing the conflict things, karmic things, having relationships that are messed up, and there's no point of having these relationships anymore, because you got to look at them as catalysts, and don't try to look for love in these relationships, you know. um but there may be, if somebody catalyzes something in you and you do the work, and then you discover that state of consciousness inside of you, and if they share it out with you, that's great. If they don't share it out with you, that's okay. Because sometimes somebody who's catalyzing you are not aware or interested in what's happening inside of you, and some people may be a bit of a catalyst, and um, resonating as well with you. It may happen, but usually, as a rule of thumb, for somebody to be really strong catalyst, they have to have no fucking clue where you're at. Then they're a really good catalyst. And somebody may be like a temporary catalyst, a little bit like, and they go back to this resonance, and then they can connect with you. It's either people with you either catalyzing you or resonating with you, and these are the just two types of connections that you have. You got to do the alchemy, which then you don't avoid these people that are catalyzing you. You do use it for the alchemy, and then there are people resonating with you, so you just hang out with them because it's amazing to just vibe and have fun, you know, whatever activity you're doing. What else I have to say about this? So yeah, so you recognize that, oh, okay, catalyze the crap, you know, alchemize the crap out of it. You can catalyze it. And this sometimes, that's like, I meet somebody and I feel it, then okay, there's going to be some form of catalyst. I don't expect them to understand me, resonate with me. I know what's happening, and so there's no reason to look for something that don't exist there, right? And that's the problem, I think, with a lot of people. They don't understand that, oh, this person came to in my life as a catalyst, and there's something. I mean, you may still have fun and enjoy some moments of that, but primarily it's going to be the catalyst, because it has to have some um, you know, attraction for the catalyst to even exist, right? But anyway, I hope I'm communicating that don't look for love in catalytic relationships. Okay? And if it happens, and if, you know, for some miracle, as you change, and they don't just run away and disappear in your life because your energy has changed so much that they cannot be in front of you because you alchemized it, they don't disappear, and they perhaps change as well, then that's great, but you'll feel it. But you don't expect that from the catalyst. Um, Most of the time, like the strongest catalyst in my life after the alchemy, they tend to um, they just tend to not resonate. I'm not saying that they can change later and then begin to resonate with me again, but I'm just saying that I now realize what is the catalytic relationship, and not getting into nonsense, you know, like, and some people are still getting triggered, like for example, getting hooked by this scarcity thing, like by getting hooked is like, okay, if a man or a woman is like juggling many people at once, or whatever, and there's that still you have not alchemized that distortion, and you find somebody attractive who's promiscuous, then they getting hooked, getting you hooked into this, you know, lust relationship. That's not love relationship. But if you realize, like, this is for me to alchemize that thing, it's not about me chasing somebody who is just juggling me. You alchemize this, and then that attraction, boom, goes away. And then you say, like, why? Now it's clear to you. It's like, why would I even want to be with someone who doesn't see me as the only option, for example? It's like, why would I? You see, of course, it's obvious. Uh, Love is not an option. It becomes obvious to you. And so if somebody keeps on talking about this, like, oh yeah, right now I have, like, you know, two people to choose from, just shut the fuck up. You know, just you just. I'm sorry to swear, but um, that's not love. In the Matrix world, fine, play these games. Everybody's in a fucking hamster box, like, you know, shagging each other like hamsters. That's Matrix for you, and fighting about this, and but it's ridiculous. I mean, come on, you know, let's just be real. But when there's love, when there's actual love, when there's no fear that, like, oh, lose the person to somebody else or whatever, because it's very clear, because you feel it. There's no doubt in you, and there's no doubt in somebody else, in let's say in your partner. Then there's love, or there's some clarity. You know, there's some clarity. It's like, oh, okay, that's the type of connection. It's clear, very clear. Then you can, you know, mess around and play all sorts of sexual games, but they're no longer serious, because they're not based on that, what you call it, distortion anymore. Nobody's getting hurt. It's just, you know, having fun. So this is why I'm not saying that, like, I'm against uh, sex or sexual exploration. No, I'm just against pretending that there's love when there isn't. And um, you see what I'm trying to say. Okay, it's time to stop babbling and just reel it in. I just want to say what I want to have to say, and that's it. So that's pretty much my take on relationships. And then as you alchemize things, whatever comes to you, it's all right. It's like what I'm trying to say here is that as you alchemize things, somebody may come into your life and be a catalytic for some more alchemy. All right, great, fine, right? That's what's going on. They may go away, they may go out of your life. Someone comes back, or somebody comes in, and there might be for some more alchemy, And so, all right, keep on doing this until everything is alchemized, until somebody comes in and becomes more stable. That's the way I see it. You know, there's it's like love has to happen without you uh, controlling this reality. You just have a control over your vibration, on your imagination, and the habits, but you don't control the other, this status matrix way and stuff like that. No, it has to be from the other, from the other side. um and if you don't control it, then it comes in any kind of form, right? Like it just happens, and then you enjoy that, or maybe you need to alchemize it, and then whatever keeps on happening, it's all right. And and you may, like that colloquial way of saying, uh, kiss a few frogs before you find the prince, which means, in a chemical way of saying, that you're gonna meet some catalyst in your life until you meet somebody who resonates with you. That's what it seems like is going on. So that is what it is. Okay, that's enough. Thanks for listening. If you're still here after all this time, I salute you. I'll see you next one.